Hi there, this is Crystal, and this is another episode of Reseller Shop Talk. And in my last episode, I was talking rather extensively about the cost of inventory and how much inventory I have on hand and how much money I have invested in the inventory that I have listed. And right now that number is around $1,800. Now, keep in mind that some of the stuff that I have listed actually is consignment items. Probably 100 items are consignment. So I didn't pay anything for them. And I've got 750 items, so 650 items I have in my store, and I paid about $1,800 for them. And that is considered an asset to my business. Like, for accounting purposes, that is an asset, and then it becomes an expense once it's sold, and then it becomes the COGS. The cost of goods sold is an expense, but until it's sold, it's not an expense, and until it's sold, it's just cost of goods. So now I'm at the beginning of the year when I did my taxes, I estimate that I had maybe, you know what, I need to go back and look, but I remember the number I was actually quite surprised at how low it was, actually, because I hadn't really given it much thought last year. But I think I was around $1,100 in inventory. And it wasn't really like a super close, accurate number, because over the course of January, I'm like, oh yeah, I got rid of that. Like, some of the stuff I had donated, and it should probably be somehow written off as a loss, and that's like one thing I don't understand, how to account for that. So, exactly. So I do have, every time I pull something out of my inventory, which isn't very often, but I will just take the information and put it on a spreadsheet, and so at the end of the year, I'll be like, these are all the things I pulled out of inventory and redonated. And, maybe there's a few things I kept. Like, the torn shirt that wasn't really worth selling, but it was still wearable, so I kept it, because it fit and I needed a shirt. Or I have a little Woodstock tie, Beanie Baby Woodstock, that I had that listed for some time, and then I lotted it together with the Snoopy, and then I took both of them off because I was going to the Snoopy was missing some pieces to his costume, and so I was trying to get the costume together, and I'm like, I don't even want to bother trying to list that tie Beanie Baby Woodstock. I mean, it might sell, but, I'm going to make a few bucks, and it's cute as can be, and so I have it up on my my desk shelf, because I like Woodstock. He's like my favorite Peanuts character. Actually, he's one of my favorite cartoon type characters. So I'm keeping Woodstock. Okay, with that said, the interesting thing about me, I was conceived during Woodstock. I was born 9 months after Woodstock happened. And my parents were not there, but obviously they were in the right frame of mind. And interestingly enough, my parents also lived on Haight-Ashbury, but they lived in that area of San Francisco before it became like a hippie epicenter. And like literally right before all of that hippie craze, if you want to call it that, took over. I always found that interesting. My parents really aren't very hippie. my dad, I think a lot of people thought he might be the kind of person to sort of go in that sort of direction maybe, but and he does have some free thinking, outside of the box tendencies, and is very accepting in many ways, but like all humans, he's a product of his conditioning and fitting into society to a certain degree as well. But, my dad's pretty healthy, has a good healthy balance between free thinking and fitting in, conformity and all that. Anyways, I would love to sit and talk about the societal conditions of the 50s and 60s, but I wasn't really there, and I probably shouldn't even talk about it. It's all presumptions. Sometimes I think that the people of that time, like, they were just so conditioned and to conform, and they had these ideas that just were like petty. But at the same time, I mean, not really. There was a lot of forward thinking and righteous thinking, for lack of a better term, not in a Christian way, but just it's about what's right, and deep thinking was going on back then. And I don't think the hippie movement or the civil rights movement could have happened without that component of humanity being in existence. And the same thing goes, like, I was listening to Carolyn Myss, or Miss, M-Y-S-S. I've heard that her last name is pronounced Mace, but it's spelled M-Y-S-S, who I really like and adore. And she's really inspired me to look at the world in another way. And anyways, but if you don't know who Carolyn Myss is, she's sort of like a new age author, and she was one of the forerunners back in the 70s, 80s. And she has some kind of psychic ability to diagnose diseases or physical ailments in people. And but she was saying something about how in ancient times people just didn't have the same kind of progressive understanding that we have now. And I think they did. I think it's always been there. It's just that the information wasn't always available to the general public, basically, of the time. And the general public of the time was busy freaking cleaning all day and surviving and growing food. And, there just wasn't a lot of time to be thinking deeply about going into oneself, or they're busy dodging the I can't remember, is it the proletariat? The people in power, like, just trying to stay out of their way. And putting up with the shit they were doing. Kind of like what we do now. It's not much different. We're just trying to stay out of the way of the people in power that are fucking everything up. But anyways, I have gone off on a tangent. I really didn't mean to. I am so sorry. I hope you guys don't mind. But again, I don't necessarily think Carolyn Myss is wrong in what, I can't remember her exact wording, but it was this recent talk she gave on TED Talks. And I bet there's some truth to what she's saying as well, because I just think there's more people that have more time and access to those types of ideas, and so then it inspires them. And whereas in the past but it wasn't that people weren't capable back, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Okay, so let's go back to the inventory. Now, like I said, I haven't really known what to think about my inventory because I've got, like I said, let's just round it up because I've got like a couple $100 worth of things that I haven't even listed yet, or that I spent a couple $100 on things and they're not listed yet. So if I had all those listed and plus the stuff I've got listed, and assuming I maybe only sell like $50 worth of stuff in the next 24 hours, it's going to be around $2,000. Let's just round it up there. So, what would be a reasonable amount? I mean, and I guess it depends on what you're selling, but like to really have a business that's working, it's like it doesn't really matter what you're selling, it's what the numbers look like in the end, Can you buy gas for your car, So if I've got $2,000 in inventory and I do nothing for the next 30 days except sell, there's a good chance that I will sell at least $1,000, if not $1,400 worth of stuff, if history repeats itself. Now, this information is based on past experiences and past sales performances, because that's, now again, that was like really pretty good times. January, February, March are typically pretty good times for the kinds of things that I sell. And I gotta tell you, that's like awesome. I think that's good. But if you're continually, I guess it depends, like if, like some people, they'll put in $500 a week into their inventory, or $2,000 a month total, and one week they might spend $600, the next week they might spend $300, the next week $800, whatever, like, but it, their budget is like $2,000 a month or $500 a week or whatever, and I think that's actually a pretty good amount for most, small-time resellers that are selling random things on eBay. Or even if you're buying, mass cogs, like mass cogs and widgets. That's the word I'm looking for, not cogs. If you're ordering a bunch of screwdrivers or whatever, like, and things like that from China and then selling them. But I am spending, now I did not look at this before I did this talk, but I'm probably spending $500 or less a month on inventory. And I think that that's kind of where one of my problems is I actually need more money for inventory, and I've heard other people talk about it. And then the inventory I buy needs to be quality inventory of things that I'm going to be making a bigger profit on, a bigger net per item. And so even if, like, let's just say I spent $20 on an item, well, I mean, hopefully I'm making $40, $50, $60 on that item, at least. Now, I know there's tons, you hear all these resellers talk about all these amazing deals. They buy stuff for $5 and turn around and sell it for $50, $60 all the time. Yes, that's possible, but for me, that's like a home run to find something for $5 or $10 and sell it for $60 to $100. It just is. I don't know. People in my area, like, I go to garage, and I'm one of those people, what, to tell you the truth, I do not like garage sales. Like, I go and I'm like, oh, how much is this, necklace, this little, it's, and I'm like thinking, maybe $5 because it's got a little something going on, it's a little special, it's not going to insult them, they're like, $5? That's worth $25. I want 15 for that. That was my daughter's special necklace. And then they like grab it and they take it away. I'm like, I can't tell you how many times. And I felt like that was not an insulting garage sale offer. Especially for a necklace that was worth $25 originally. Like, come on, that's like a good offer. And it's just so funny. And then there was another time some woman had these little Nike kids cleats for soccer that maybe would fit like a 5 to 7-year-old, depending on the size of the kid's feet. And they were full of mud. And then she had this Thomas the Engine train thing. And I'm like, well, how about like, $7 for all of this, and she did the same thing. She's like, oh my God, no. She was like all offended and like picked up the stuff and took it back in the house. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And then I don't know, I go to garage sales in my area and it's just, it's a bunch of shit. And then, there might be one gem in the bunch of stuff, and the person knows it's a gem and they want $50 for it because they know it could be sold for $150 resale. And, it's just like people, they're like, I want eBay prices, so I haven't really had a lot of success with garage sales, but I need to give it more of a chance. And another thing that I've been done okay with, and I need to do it again, but it just is not a pleasant experience. And I just don't find, I can't believe Nicole State just finds all this amazing stuff at her bins. Now, I live in Phoenix. We have one bins in all of Phoenix. There's millions of people here, and there's like a Goodwill on every corner, and the stuff at the bins, yes, I have found some good stuff that I ended up selling for maybe $30, $40. But most of the stuff, it's just crap. I could probably go there and spend 2 hours, and yes, I could get a bunch of stuff that I could turn around and sell for 7 or 8 or 10. But most of it is going to be around the $10 mark, and it's not going to be high demand stuff. It's going to, and then I get it home, I'll get 40 or 50 things, and then I get it home, and I'm like, there's 5 or 6 things that you have to put back. Now, I know Nicole does that, but she's finding amazing things in the middle of it all, a lot of it, all the time. I don't know, maybe I just need to do an experiment and go every day for 2 hours every day and just see what I find. And maybe it's just the 4 times I've gone to the bins, I don't know. So I end up, and then when you go to Goodwill on Dollar Day, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying, there used to be, I remember I used to shop on Dollar Day, and I would find stuff left and right on Dollar Days. I'm telling you, our Goodwills get shopped, and you'll find maybe 3 things on a rack that are $1 that are halfway decent, and maybe if you're lucky, 1 thing that's even really worth picking up. Most of it is just either crap, or there's something wrong with it, or it just is not even worth trying to sell on eBay. So there's just not a lot of that. So New York Thrifter has talked about how the best day to go is the day right after when they start the new tags. So actually, and I think that's true. That's gonna be my strategy. Today, actually at Savers is the new tag, and I don't know if I'm gonna go in because I've got $250 or something like that, maybe a little less, worth of bids out at this auction coming up, and there's a lot of good stuff I'm bidding on, really good stuff that I can sell for a lot of money. And I think I want to conserve all my funds for this auction. And I don't know, Friday and then Saturday, other people are going to come in with their bids. And then I'm going to have to play a bidding war. And I don't know how it's all going to go, but I need to have some working capital for that. But at the same time, I've got all of these clothing buyers that come to my store, and I need to go get some clothes because I've been doing a lot of hard goods lately, and I feel like I need to put some new clothing items in. And all I have right now are like jackets and then a few random things as far as clothing is concerned. So I don't know, I may go to Savers and just go, and then I've got a Honey Hole thrift store too. I might stop in those places, maybe just take like $40 and go get some clothing items. But again, I end up invariably spending, like I said, I think I figured my average cost is about, let's just say $250 per item that I have listed. And Nicole, I was just listening to Nicole and on her last, weekly talk, and they're like, our average cost of good is, 50, 60 cents. And it's like, yeah, she goes to the bins all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but not me. If I want to get the good stuff, I got to go to my cost of goods is higher than that. Now, again, especially for clothes, I need to, like I said, I need to do an experiment, go to the bins every day for 2 hours and just see what I come up with, and really give it a shot. It's just so much nicer to go to the regular stores. But I'm going to do that. You know what? I should do that next week. Okay, so I guess one of the things I've been doing, though, is I've been doing auctions, and it's not like stuff is selling like hotcakes on my auctions, and I'm basically just breaking even. I made money on a few things, actually, but then in the end, it's really all just sort of breaking even on all my auctions, and which is fine because I've probably recouped maybe $50, $60 or $100 worth of, at the most, probably not that much, of the stuff I've, for cost of goods, for reinvestment, rather than have that money tied up in inventory that's not selling, not moving, and then I'm getting more sales, which is going to help me with my getting back to top-rated seller. And now Nicole was also saying that a bunch of people lost their top-rated seller recently too, like they changed the rubric. I don't know what changed. It doesn't look like anything's changed. I guess it changed 4 or 5 months ago or something. I don't know, but yes, it did change, but not just in the last month. But yeah, the problem for me is they have this one percentage that they look at for your late shipments. So and it goes back for a whole year. And so I went in this morning and was looking at that, and I'm like, oh my God, January. I had half of the problem is January, and I remember it was. My dad was dying in the hospital. It was really traumatic. And I just, I wasn't super late on my shipping, but there was a couple days where I didn't get it done till the next day. I should have done it on Tuesday, but I got it out on Wednesday, whatever. And then there was a couple Mondays where, and that's a big shipping day. So there was a couple Mondays where I didn't get stuff out until Tuesday, actually. And so that really, really screwed me up. So it could be, unless I get my total sales up by a pretty large margin here pretty quick, if I just continue on this pattern I'm on right now, it's going to take me until next January to get back to top-rated seller. And then at that time, they're going to start if you want to be top rated seller, you got to offer free returns. And that's going to be my next topic. And the way I've decided to look at it is that, and then they lowered the discount. So if you're only getting 10% on your final value fees, I figure maybe that's, for a lot of people, that might be $50 to $100 a month. And so that still covers your costs of any returns that you might have to pay for. So, and I don't think you should be afraid of free return shipping, because I've been doing free return shipping on almost everything for well over a year, and it has not increased the amount of returns I have. It's just, I've just had to pay for the return shipping. So on clothing items, it's pretty inconsequential. Now, the people that's going to hurt are people that are selling, larger items. Like, that's like a real bummer for them. But again, if you have maybe 2 returns a month that cost you $35 in total, or 2 or 3 returns of like heavier, bigger items, whatever they are, and maybe cost you $35, $40 a month, well, there's probably a good chance you're still getting more than that back even on your final value fees. So if you stay a top rated seller, then that in essence sort of offsets any returns you might have. So, but again, I have 2.5, I've been holding steady around 2.5% returns for a long time, and most of it's clothes. So that's like, and most of it's like maybe $15 a month. So again, if I'm getting back $50 to $100 in final value, 10% final value fee, it makes sense. It still makes sense. It's not a complete FU. And people are not return crazy. They are not. Now, maybe after 5 or 6 years, people get adjusted to this idea that it's so easy to do returns on eBay, then I think returns will become more of a problem. When people get used to the idea that returns are easy. But even then, I know so many people just really don't return stuff because it's more of a hassle for them, really. Okay. I think it's more important to get the sale. Just worry about getting the sale. Don't worry about the free return shipping. I'm telling you right now. And I also use the fact that I offer free return shipping to get customers to come back to me, because right now it's a special thing because hardly anybody offers it. So every time I have a conversation with somebody, like if somebody asks me a question, well, I offer free returns on all my stuff, so hopefully whenever you're browsing eBay, you'll stop back by, and I'm all about taking care of the customer, like I'm all about that. Like, I'm like, sometimes stuff just doesn't fit, and it's like, then it sucks. You have to pay shipping. I don't want you to feel like that way. I want you to be able to come and buy some things, and if a few things don't work, then so be it. Like whatever. Like, I get into conversations with people, and it's working. I'm getting repeat customers. Which is, again, especially on the clothing items, which is, again, why I need to go get some clothing, because I am, like, virtually out. Now, another thing is that my overhead is about 60%, and that's another thing. I'm all like, in response to Nicole's latest weekly discussion, but she had said that she thought that a 60% overhead was pretty heavy. Well, okay, overhead, or your total expenses including overhead, like COGS and everything, like if you include everything. When overhead is technically different than your COGS, but if you want to look at, what your real net is, there's cost of goods, and your overhead and other expenses. So I have that, and she's doing really good. Like, but I don't know how well, and this is not a criticism of Nicole. I don't know how well she's really looking at the numbers, like, because I'll tell you right now, I would not think that I have a 60% expense, overhead, whatever you want to call it, total, if I were not so keeping track of every little dime. And I'm like, whoa. And so I'm going to be getting rid of my GoDaddy bookkeeping because I just don't need to spend $11 a month on that. I'm not really utilizing it. I don't feel like I need it. I don't feel like it's worth the money. I've spent so much time learning about and investing time in organizing my bookkeeping just using basic spreadsheets that I don't feel it's necessary, and it doesn't really do anything that special for me. I think I talked about it in another video, and I do want to do more of a complete review on it. I need to do a screencast-o-matic, and I don't have like a microphone. So, and I just don't want to spend the money on it because I just feel like it's like this extra expense that I don't really need to spend that doesn't really equate to making money. It's just something fun for my YouTube hobby. But, I should probably just forget about doing the review on that. But, so there's things like that I'm like, oh my God, I don't need to be spending money on that. And then there's overhead. You're like, oh, that's overhead. Like, okay. Or I spent a little more on shipping supplies. Now, certainly with clothing, you don't have to buy a lot of the packing supplies that you have to buy if you're selling larger hard goods and all that stuff. So that increases your overhead too. Anyways, okay. So next time I want to talk a little more about accounting. I want to talk about what do you call them? Like the income statement of cash flows, balance sheet, and that kind of thing, and some concepts about inventory, like some accounting concepts that I think it's really helpful, even if you're a small-time eBay seller, it's helpful for you to understand these concepts. As you go along, you should probably be putting a little effort into learning about generally accepted accounting principles and concepts. So that's going to be coming up, and probably anything else that I forgot to talk about in this podcast. But anyways, the moral of the story today is don't be afraid of free return shipping to be top-rated seller. In fact, I think you should just start offering free return shipping now and use it to your